Good morning, traders. So, how do we trade the Aussie today? So, as I mentioned on Friday, I was expecting sort of a bounce off this 200 moving average, and we got it. And bear in mind, we're on the weekly at the moment. But yeah, I don't think it's going to hold, to be honest. So, a couple of things. So, firstly, you can see we had the 200 weekly moving average here. We also had a weekly breakout retest, this pin bar here. Okay, and which also coincided with this pin bar here. So you had a zone which you would have expected buyers to step in, and the buyers did step in. They did let it run a bit though, so they still let it run 1,000 points down before stepping in. Okay, so on the weekly, there's no indication that there's a turn here. This is starting to look like a turn is possible in the short term. But you want a grouping of the oscillators like this, and we're outside the Bollinger there, and we're also stepping out the Bollinger at the moment. So, there's a few warning signs, but there's nothing really concrete that stands out. I just want to get the daily, and you can see the daily, we're still below the moving averages. Okay, we have had a crossover, and we did step out. So there's a lot of things happening here which are indicating a potential long is brewing. But again, I like to wait for the second move on the bigger time frame. So I want to see another move to the downside, and either a higher low on the daily or alternatively a double bottom. I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking for before I'd be looking to get long on this. Okay, so let's just get down to the half hour. Okay, so looking at the half hour, you can see how we had that. This is Thursday and Friday, so you had the massive move down, we had a massive gap down, and then sort of consolidated and started moving to the upside, and that continued on Friday. Okay, which was fairly strong, and this first half hour was your key. You could see it was a solid bar. We pulled back a little bit more than halfway, but crucially staying above these moving averages, and then continued moving up. So that moves to the upside, which I was kind of expecting, has happened. I think that was another 1,000 point move, and I think what you're going to get now is another pullback. So let's just move to an hour. I would expect us now to get a bit of a pullback, and why I say that, okay, there is the one trend line, kind of rough, but what I'm interested in is the bottom of this bar, okay? Okay, so that's what I'm interested in. From the bottom of this bar, you can see we have a bit of a rising wedge or a flag. So I'd expect us to move to the downside. We had a warning here. Okay, not really diversions. We have had a grouping. So I would really expect us to move back to the downside. Now, what you need to remember is you do have a gap to the downside here. Okay, so let's just delete all these things. So you do have a gap to the downside, which your wedge target, should it break, is firstly this level here. You see where these tails line up, and then secondly will be the bottom of the bar, but the bottom of the bar lines up with the gap, so you'd expect that gap to close. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm expecting, and if we look at the Asian markets at the moment, they've started off to the downside. 10 cents is down 3.5%, so you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar that Nasdaq will fall off, which means the Aussie top 40 will be volatile again and fall off. So, yeah, so I would suspect for me today it's going to be a case of just trade the range. you can either trade the closing range, which is these two bars here, or alternatively wait for that first half hour and trade that. Okay. Now, another way of looking at the range, this was the first hour, but if I go the last half hour and the first half hour, which would have taken us all the way up to the 200 moving average. Okay, so that is another way that I've seen a lot of the institutions playing, is they combine the first half hour and the last hour, the last half hour together of trading to form the range, and that's what they trade. Okay, but what I do find though, you see, if you keep adding it up, you'll see what I mean. Last half hour, first half hour, that's the range, break, move the downside. So you've got about a 70% success rate using that. Okay, so today I suspect we're going to have a massive gap down again, okay, and move the downside, and we should hopefully find our feet with a higher low. Okay, if we do find our feet with a higher low on the hour, then that's going to be my indication for a long trade. But yeah, at this stage, I mean, when you're moving 1,000 points in a day, this was a 2,000 point move over 2 days. Yeah, 2,000 points over 2 days. So I suppose, yeah, that is a swing trade all on its own. Anyway, so I think you're going to get a gap down. Any pullback you get, it's going to be to sell the buying, sell the rallies as such. So any bit of buying you see, be worthwhile selling, and just take your profit, because I still believe that the shorts are scalps at these levels. Okay, so that's kind of my take on this for today. I'm expecting a gap down. Any rally worthwhile selling into, but take your profit, and you've got first target of 46,990, so 47,000 would be a first target. Okay, and if we just get the 4 hour, you'll see that's the breakout, so that would make the most sense. Okay, delete that and delete that, and you can see on the 4 hour how it's a pin bar, so I really would expect us to pull back. Okay, anyway guys, that's it for me, and I say last thing, you'll notice that we had a step out the Bollinger Band, a grouping of the oscillators, and we started rising off a level. Okay, so Thursday, as I said, everything was there for a long. I think that long has played out now. So now what you're looking for is a continuation of this move to the downside, and you're going to have to pay attention, because it could just be a bit of a retracement, or it could set up and look to break below the bottom here. And if it does break below the bottom here, 45,635, then you've got more downside coming. So the way that I'll be playing this is pretty simple. Is I'm expecting a short, so we get in for the short, okay, and we watch the levels. So first level to watch is 46,990, and the next level to watch is 45,695. Okay, when I say watch the levels, specifically mean watch the levels. So if you see a bullish pattern forming on this level, and use something like even the 15 minutes or the hour, 30 minutes would be sufficient. Then get out of it and look to trade up. But if you sort of no clear bullish signals, then just move your stop down, protect your capital, and let it run. Because if this is what I think it is, you may end up with one of 3 scenarios. So you're going to have a continuation move all the way down to 4,500, okay, or alternatively a double bottom at 45,700, okay, or just a retracement. So if you use a Fibonacci here, you'll see what I mean. So a retracement would be pretty close to where this gap is. There's a gap there. No, 61.8 is right here. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking for. Looking for a pullback, and then to see what happens on the pullback. Before we close off. No, okay. Now, I thought maybe that we had a diagonal trend line that would line up with this gap close as well, but we don't have it. Okay, so that's my take on it today. Probably be some more selling today. And the question is, where will the buyers step in again? The buyers did step in quite violently here. So where they're going to step in again, because they clearly see value down here. Okay, and you can see opening on its low, closing on its high, opening on its low, closing on its high. That's a pretty bullish signal on the daily. So what we're looking for is we're looking for another pullback, and then we're looking for a pattern to form on the daily, which will give us a swing trade. And what I'm really looking for is a Christmas rally. Anyway, so that's my take on this for today. Hope it helps, and we'll have to wait and see. I think selling through most of the morning, and then we'll see what happens when the US opens. We might get the buyer stepping in then. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Hope it helps, and enjoy your day. I'll catch you later. Cheers for now.